Coolio from 1995 and Gangster's Paradise. Continuing the movie theme, of course, that was from Dangerous Minds, with starring Micheal Pfeiffer. And I was only a whippersnapper when that came out. It's also featuring in a new movie called Pain and Gain, which we are going to be discussing a little later with our film critic this afternoon, who's in the studio now, Mr. Dan Cook.
Hello there, you alright?
I'm very well, thank you,
Good.
Dan. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in today. Now, movies are your passion.
Yes.
How did you get into movies?
Quite a long-winded story. When I was a little kid, me and my brother, being born in the 90s, we'd watch a lot of Disney films over and over and over again. So I basically know the Disney films all by heart. And me and my brother would turn them off and we'd talk about what we liked of the films, what we didn't, how we'd improve them. And then, so I'd make my little notes. And then when I got into secondary school, I started watching YouTube videos of American critics such as Siskel and Ebert, who I think are the best film critics who's ever lived. And I'd learned from them how to extrapolate how I thought about these films into cohesive sentences, but still be entertaining. And then, so I'd be writing my stuff. And then a few years later, someone said to me, "You really do love films, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, I do." Why don't you do film at college? So I went to Stourbridge College and I did film. Well, I originally wanted to do a directing course, and then I realised, after realising how difficult it was, that maybe that's not for me, and maybe telling people what I think about films is probably better and easier and much more fun. Yes,
much more fun. You told me over a cup of tea earlier that you actually have made a few films.
Very small films.
Very small films, yeah.
Mostly trailers and things like that for slasher films, and
films.
Well, we did one.
The Tipton slasher.
Oh
no, maybe not. Okay.
We did we had a film thing where we had to do a trailer for an upcoming film, and I came up with one called The White Mask, which was basically a cross between Halloween and Friday the 13th. And basically my brother was sitting in a deck chair and I would come over and strangle him with a piece of rope wearing a white mask. Didn't do anything, it was pretty rubbish.
That was just a normal day in your house though, wasn't it?
Exactly. Basically we got good marks for it and didn't really do much else with that, really. Yeah. But I'd also make little stop motion films. Me and my wife, who was then my fiance, then we went off to Spain and have this little orange mascot I'd take with me everywhere called Alan. He's a little one-eyed monster thing. And we made a little stop-motion film in the plane, just like of him doing somersaults and jumping around.
In the plane? Can you even do that? I mean,
well, we just got our phones out and did like little...
That's a brilliant way to kill time.
It was fantastic.
Great, isn't it?
2.5 hours gone. Fantastic.
Oh, brilliant stuff. So you first got into movies through Disney, Mr.
Yes,
Walt Disney. What's your favourite Disney film?
The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, really?
No one else likes that film, but I
Wow.
think it's an underrated masterpiece.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else would probably say The Lion King, but I won't go into The Lion King here right now.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame, yeah, it rings a bell. Thank you.
Very good.
That's really bad, isn't it? That I'm sorry. For what it's worth, my favourite Disney film is Jungle Book.
It's a good film. It's good. I like the Jungle Book.
Love Jungle Book and Snow White as well, because it was the first of its kind.
Yeah,
and it's still a masterpiece, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, we watched Snow White the other night, and my wife pointed out to me the other day something I hadn't realised before. When they're coming back from in the jewel mine and they're singing "Hi Ho, I Ho," everyone thinks it's off to work we go. But they're actually singing "It's off to home we go," I think it is, or "Back to home we go." And no one ever picks up on that. It's an urban myth that's gone around saying it's off to work we go.
There's quite a few urban myths and mishearings in movies, isn't there?
Oh yes, yeah. Disney's definitely prime subject for them. There's a moment in The Lion King when Simba falls down and dust scatters up in the air and a word comes out, which I can't say on the radio, but it's very clear what the lettering spells out in the dust.
Okay.
And there's also moments in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where Jessica Rabbit is clearly going commando in a car and all sorts of things like that.
Oh my word. Okay.
So movie myths exist all over the place.
There's been a lot of that in animation over the years.
Oh yes,
yes, absolutely.
Hidden jokes.
Yes. Right, you were talking earlier as well. You love movies. You've also got a blog, a very successful movie blog.
I'd like to think it was successful, yes.
Well, I think you've just told me you've had something like 18,000 hits.
Just reached 18,000 hits on my website, which is about 250 views a day, which I'm very happy with. I mean, I didn't expect it to do anything, and thanks to the miracle of Facebook and Twitter, I can get my ideas out there and everyone can watch. I've been having people reading my reviews from Estonia and Latvia and Iceland and places I've never even been to, and it's fantastic.
That's brilliant. Wow. That's fantastic. Can we have have you got what's your blog address?
It's DC-movie reviews dc-movie-reviews.blogspot.co.uk.
DC-movie-reviews.
.blogspot.co.uk.
.blogspot. We'll be giving that out again a bit later, and maybe we'll put it up on our Facebook page as well. We're going to be talking a load more, Dan, and I'm going to ask you to do a movie review as well. Or
right,
you've got
that's absolutely fine. A rant.
A little
fine.
rant.
A little rant, that's
over
fine.
A movie that you have reviewed, and yeah. But we're going to have a short break, and we're going to hear one of your favourite tracks when we come back. Actually, you can introduce it just before the break. It's a Queen track.
It is a Queen track, yes.
And a little bit more on that right after this.
Hanging on the edge of your seat. I need a...
Yeah. We missed the ending of that song there. That was really good. We were engrossed in the studio talking about movies, and then Freddie started singing another song, which we
a really hideous remix of Another One Bites the Dust with Wyclef Jean.
It was
really hideous.
Tell us about Princes of the Universe by Queen.
Oh, what a great song! Well, basically, it's done by Queen, the best band who's ever existed. Well, I think anyway.
Yeah.
Theme tunes to 1986 action film Highlander by Russell Mulcahy. Uses in the beginning credits. I mean, most people think that it's a kind of magic was the main song for Prince of the Universe for Highlander, but that was the main tune that happens over the opening credits. Fantastic song. Usually when people think of Queen, they don't think of them as a purely heavy rock band. They think of them as a pop glam band in the vein of Somebody's Love. But then I play them that and they think, oh, that's pretty heavy actually.
Yeah. So, I haven't heard that song since I watched Highlander, I think.
Really good song. Fantastic. Really good song.
Tell us about Dan Cook then. You're a local lad?
Local lad, yeah. Born in Dudley, 1991. Very proud of Dudley, Never Want to Move.
Yeah, Dudley.
Many people slate the Black Country, but I'm fiercely proud of where I
Amen,
live.
brother.
So.
Yeah, the Black Country people. I mean, I've had the privilege of travelling a bit, and I'm so glad to come back.
Yeah.
To the Black Country, and I mean, it's a cliche, but people are salt of the earth. They are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love it. I mean, even though Maryhill Hill isn't really what it used to be. I remember when Maryhill Hill had the monorail and the fountain in the centre, and
I remember when the
gadget
Hill
shop.
I remember when the Maryhill Hill was a building site. Sorry, go on.
I wasn't born then.
Okay,
but and I remember when the Odeon used to be UCI, and I remember when Dudley was really great and Dudley Town Centre was the fountain was working and everything. I'm still very proud of it, but I do think we could do more to really get Dudley back to its former glory.
I think so too. And you were a Stourbridge student as well.
Stourbridge College, yeah. First of all, went to Lichfield to do. I was a chorister at the Cathedral, and then I did a musical scholarship at Aldstonford here in Stourbridge. Mm-hmm. And then once I left there, I did film A-level at Stourbridge College, where Aldstonford didn't offer film, unfortunately. But thankfully, when I got to Stourbridge, I had one of the best teachers I've ever had. Yeah. Fantastic Louise. So she really helped me where I am to be today. Still keeping regular contact with her. Very lucky to know her. Great person.
So this is a film. This isn't a question to ask to a film reviewer and a film critic, but if you could pick maybe two, let's say, of your favourite movies. Let's say one from the last 10 years and one from way back.
Okay.
Put you on the spot, Dan.
Well, my favourite film of all time is Jaws, Steven Spielberg's fantastic 1975 thriller.
Yeah.
I think is a fantastic film. Not perfect, there are problems with it, but to me there is no other film like it. When I remember when I was a very little kid, about 4 or 5, my mum and dad had a small video shelf on the in the corner of the room, and I saw the video case that we had, things like The Colour Purple, Schindler's List, The Silence of the Lambs. Those films didn't really bother me, but I remember the video case for Jaws was the silver writing Jaws in big letters, and then the shark. And I was reading encyclopedia and stuff about sharks, ferocious creatures, and then I said to Mum, can we watch Jaws? I want to watch that. And she said no, until a few years later, when I was about 6 or 7, I watched it, and I had never been so scared of a film in my life. I had never been more terrified of a film. I remember sitting on my dad's knee, watching the film, and within 5 minutes, hiding behind the sofa. I couldn't bear it. And then a few years later, I asked my dad if we could watch Jaws again, and we did, and I fell in love with it. Yeah. Got the DVD when I first went to secondary school, and I've been probably watched it 250 times.
Wow.
Plan to write a book on it. I just absolutely adore that.
What do you think of the sequels? Jaws 2.
Now you've asked me a question, because I don't hate them as much as everyone else, except for Jaws: The Revenge. That is a terrible film.
Yeah.
But they're fun. Jaws 2's just like an amusement park ride, really, just going around and just seeing the shark doing what it does best. Yeah. Jaws 3, SeaWorld, bit of fun. The 3D is absolutely laughable, but they're fun. They're not.
Yeah.
I don't hate them as much as all the other Jaws fans do, except for, as I say, Jaws 4, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen. But I still like them. It's a shark. I mean, any film with a shark is going to be all good to me.
It is. I mean, I always think Jaws, especially those films of that generation, they're pioneering films, aren't they? And there wasn't much like them when they came out.
No.
And it was all new. So yes, I mean, you'll see like a plastic shark, and you'll see a few things coming up. But you can forgive it, can't you? Because they
Absolutely.
are pioneers.
I mean, people said to me whenever I say that Jaws is my favourite, they're saying, "Oh, the shark looks quite fake." Of course it's fake. It's a 25-foot shark. They don't exist. You can't get a shark to jump on the end of a boat and train it to bite down on someone without killing them. Of course it's going to be fake. It's a big rubber shark. But I think for the effects that they had, and Jaws was fraught with more problems than any other production I've ever known. The shark would stop working. When the shark was first lowered into the water, it just sank to the bottom of the ocean. It completely dead. So they had more problems with that film than any other production ever made.
I'm just gutted that you've told me it was fake.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
You'll be telling me about the Tooth Fairy
Wait
next.
till you hear about the Tooth Fairy, I was going to say. And then if I was to choose a film from the past 10 years, that's a very difficult question. Because there's been so many good films released, not really this year, but over the past few years. There's things like Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, which many people don't like, but I adore. There's There Will Be Blood, which is a fantastic action thriller.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Danny Day-Lewis in his best performance, which is fantastic. Yeah. There's a film from 2 years ago called Melancholia, Lars von Trier's fantastic end of the world apocalypse film, which is brilliant. There's lots of great films, but I don't think we have the quality of the films that we had in the 1970s. Yeah. I think that because Jaws was the first summer blockbuster, it was the first film to have the merchandise, all the advertising campaign, all in one big package. And even though advertising is still going on today, I don't think we're going to have that sense of like, this is something new, this is something we have to experience together as a community. I think that's sort of lost on us now.
I think, you're in a very an important, influential role as a critic. I mean, I remember Barry Norman through the 80s and the early 90s, and it was his reviews that got me into wanting to actually look at a film in a critical way while I'm still enjoying it. But I wouldn't get too hung up on what he said. But I'd say, I'll go and watch that then.
Well, that's exactly the thing that drew me. It wasn't Barry Norman, it was the American film critics, Siskel and Ebert, who are both sadly passed now. Roger Ebert passed away very recently. Who were fantastic. They would argue to the bitter end about a film, even if it was something as rubbish as, I don't know, a Lassie film or something like that, or Cannonball Run or something like that. They would still really argue about a film and try and get their points across. They would literally probably try and draw blood if they could. But they cared so much about a film and they had so much passion for it that I thought it must be so brilliant to have a job where you are working in something you love so much. It must be great to have a job like that, and that's what I want to do.
Talking to Barry Norman, a little bit earlier I was doing a bit of research, because I actually do some research, Jenny, for the show, you know. I do, yeah. And I was looking for his theme tune. Yes. And I didn't find his theme tune, but I did find this, and I had to play it now. It's by Nina Simone. Dan Cook, movie critic extraordinaire, is going to tell me exactly what movie that was from.
Well, it might be from many films, but the one that I mostly know it from is 1997 Ants, the animated film with the voice by Woody Allen, which is... was an interesting film because at the same time when DreamWorks was making Ants, Disney was making A Bug's Life. So it was the first time that two computer animated films about bugs were coming out at the same time.
Going
so they
head
had
to head,
an
weren't they?
agreement about which one was going to come first. So A Bug's Life came first, and then Ants came about a week and a half later.
How about that? And I can see clearly now. We thought that was from Sundance Kid, but maybe it was that Raindrops? I'm not too sure.
It might be Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. I haven't seen Butch Cassidy in a long time. Yeah. So it might be Raindrops. Now,
you're going to do what you do best now. You're going to give us a film review.
Right.
And without any further ado, really, I've sorted you out a bed, because every good film reviewer on the radio or the telly needs a good bed. Especially at the end of it, because you'll be tired, you know. But rubbish jokes, Paul. Really bad. Thank you. I'm here all week. Try the veal. Should we go for it?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
Right then, so Pain and Gain, which is the new film from director extraordinaire Micheal Bay, who has probably made some of the worst movies of the past 2 decades. Probably disputable, but definitely not by me. Started off with some fair action films like Armageddon and The Rock and Bad Boys, which I'm not a fan of at all, but I know that many people count them as action classics. and has gone on to completely destroy his own career with such disreputable wrecks as the Transformers trilogy and Pearl Harbor, which is about historically accurate as the Flintstones. And now he's gone on to do Pain and Gain, which is the story of 3 bodybuilders who kidnap, torture, and basically force a rich man to hand over all his riches and assets to them so they can lead the American dream of wealth and power and being everything you want to be. The story mainly follows a character played by Mark Wahlberg, who's a lunk-headed bodybuilder who cares more about fitness and keeping his muscles big and being all pumped rather than women or friends or family or actually having a life. And he goes to a self-help seminar led by Kem Jeong from the Hangover trilogy, who basically says, don't be a don'ter, do be a doer. And he gives an example by saying, here, once I had a wife and a kid, I was very happy, but thankfully I left her, and now I have 7 wives here who I can have at any time. Clearly they're just strippers who Micheal Bay wanted to film for his next Victoria's Secret commercial. And the film goes on, and he thinks, I deserve more money, I should be better than this. So he hires the help of 2 other guys, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Anthony Mackie. And basically what they do is Mark Wahlberg gets a client played by Tony Shalhoub of Monk, he plays Monk in the TV series, kidnaps him, tortures him to almost the point of death, and forces him to hand over his assets. What happens over the course of the film is, as they spend the money on drugs and women and houses, they start to lose their money, so they become addicted to the idea of doing this crime over and over again. What Micheal Bay has based this film on is a series of murders that happened in 1995. This is a true story about 3 guys who went around murdering people for their money. And the two of the characters in the film are actually on death row as we speak. The problem is that Micheal Bay has made this film, which is about murder, about torture, about kidnapping, into a comedy. He's tried to make this film like a slapstick comedy with people enjoying themselves, casually kidnapping people, casually killing people, all in the name of fun. The problem is Micheal Bay doesn't have a comedic bone in his stupid, pathetic little body. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He clearly showed that with the Transformers films, which are about as funny as an autopsy. So what Micheal Bay has done is he's basically taken an event that destroyed the lives of these innocent people and has said, oh, no, it's a comedy. We're gonna make you care about these 3 idiots who bungled up a murder, a kidnapping, a torture, and we're going to empathise with them. It doesn't matter, it's all in the name of fun. Well, it's not. Watching the film is like watching a pneumatic drill going into the ground. It is as boring as the existence of cardboard. It is pathetic filmmaking of the highest order. It's made for $25 million, a lot lower than any other budget of a Micheal Bay film. Hopefully Micheal Bay will learn his lesson from the hideous reviews that this film has got, and will actually learn to make a proper film. He won't, because he doesn't have that kind of initiative. He cares more about making money. Well, thankfully, this film has only made $75 million, which is only about a third, 3 times the amount of the budget, rather than the Transformers trilogy, which made $2.5 billion. Micheal Bay is a pathetic creature who doesn't deserve to work behind the camera. The cast should be absolutely ashamed of himself. I like the actors. I love Mark Wahlberg. He's brilliant. I like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But this film is just awful. Do not bother going to see it. It's a waste of time.
Got a feeling you didn't like that movie there, Dan.
What gave you that idea? It's a masterpiece.
Dan, thank you so much for coming in. We have completely run out of time. I could talk to you all day long. Brilliant. That blog again is
dc-moviereviews.blogspot.co.uk.
.blogspot.co.uk. We'll be putting it on the website a little later. And Dan, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
All the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.